everyone. Welcome back to the Lost and Found podcast. This is your host, Amanda, and I'm so excited that you're here today. You are in for an extra special treat. I have invited my friend, Tavarus Taylor, on the show today. He is one of the sweetest and kindest people I've met since moving and living here in Nashville for a while, and he saves me all the time fixing things that go wrong in my house. When tools go missing, he saves the day, and so I'm so grateful that he's here. You may have heard me on his show, The Queen's Table, which he hosts at ACME Radio here in town. He is also the one and only Queen Diva of Nashville. He performs as Miss Vivica Steele on the regular. And so if you've seen him out singing and dancing, that is probably who your favorite drag queen is. It's him. So now you get to have a little bit behind the curtains today. So I'm super excited to have him on. We're going to hear all about his journey and his life purpose and all the ups and downs that have come in between to going to college for the first person in his family to achieve that. And now he is a business owner, entrepreneur, radio host, and just the love of everyone's life here in town. Tavarus, welcome to the show.
Thank you, loves. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. And thank you. We've talked about this for so long, and you were the first show that I was ever invited to.
Yeah.
So as a podcaster, that felt super validating for me because I still wake up every day and I walk into this studio and I'm thinking, I'm an amateur, but it's just really sweet to know that my good friends who maybe had never even listened to an episode were like, yeah, sure, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Let's support each other. So I just was always so grateful.
Well, I was very interested in your story, and we had a discussion, and I was just wooed by your background and your experience. And like I said, right now, especially in this particular moment in life, when we talk about allyship and advocacy and leadership, I think those are really, really imperative. So, pat yourself on the back, honey, because you hold it, so you had it, and you have it. So yeah.
Well, you're the sweetest. Well, you've always described yourself as somebody different. You were standing out from the crowd, even from a very young age, but you couldn't always understand why. Like, is it because I'm special? Is it because I'm weird? Like, what's making me so different? So I'm wondering if you could take us back to that original feeling as young Tavarus, and what were you carrying, and what was the language that you were trying to deal with and, figure out how to understand who you are, and when did that shift start?
Yeah. Wow. That's like a whole biography right there that you just asked for. But no, in a synopsis, young Tavarus, I feel like he was a very reserved kid. I suffered from ADHD a lot, and I was on Ritalin at the time. So, between navigating, the medications and navigating my identity, not only as who I was as a person, but also who I was when it related to family. I'm the only child between my biological mom and my biological dad, and they split at a young age and started their own family. So I was the only child between the two of them. And growing up, you kind of felt that isolation, you kind of felt that differentiation. It wasn't like I was abused, but you could just tell that there was a something that was different there. And I think for the longest time, it really played a very pivotal point in my being, because I think that when you kind of grow up and you understand where you come from, you understand your history, you understand, your background, it gives you a more sense of your purpose.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, I didn't really understand that until a couple years ago. And that was because my aunt we're having a family reunion, and I always knew that there was something different, but I really didn't grasp as to what that difference was until a couple years ago when we were having our family reunion, and my aunt was doing the biological or the tree,
sure.
what is it?
The family tree?
The family tree, the DNA or something like that.
Or like the 23
The 23andMe, yeah. And then I saw a line by my dad.
Okay.
And I was like, what is this about?
What was it?
And so, she told me the background of, the trauma within all of that. And it kind of hit me at that moment that sometimes, or not for me, I guess I speak for myself, that I was born into something traumatic. Mm-hmm. That's why I was going through so much trauma. I didn't understand it all then. Right. But then when I understood the root of my existence, it all made sense that I was born into this trauma.
Yeah, you weren't causing it, because I know sometimes little kids, when they don't understand, like, why are my parents so angry, or why are they fighting, or why are they not together? Was it my fault? Did I do something? Like, they can't comprehend yet what adults are necessarily dealing with. And trust me, kids, you shouldn't be listening to this show, but if you are listening to this show, don't grow up. Don't do it. Being an adult, I think that it's cracked up.
It's not all that it's cracked up to be, but I think the biggest part for me in being able to grow up is just having that acceptance factor. I think that you get to a place in business and in life where you accept things. Like, it wasn't like, this traumatic event in my life was prohibiting me from being able to become the man that I was destined to be. But it was also just that empty spot in my life that I couldn't put context with, I couldn't put an identity with. And that was missing, and that was really hurtful. But then it was clear that the trauma that I was experiencing had nothing to do with me. It was generational trauma that was handed down to me. And I think oftentimes we get into situations where you have to realize that you had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I have as my drag identity as, Vivica Steele, chain breaker, the queen of hearts and breaker of all chains. Chain breaking for me is being able to stop trauma in its pathways. And just because you were born into trauma doesn't mean that you have to continue to live a traumatic life. Doesn't mean that you have to continue to hand down or teach traumatic views. Looking back, I used to hear my aunts, my mom, and all them get together and talk and whatnot. And I understood that even in that particular time, they were growing up in a time that was hard for them, especially as young people of color here in the South. I can only imagine what they were experiencing when they were growing up. And so I think that sometimes you just have to, for me, the best place for me to get was to that acceptance aspect. And I think that going back to your question, what allowed me to kind of identify that difference, really, I didn't really connect with that until a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people, they think it's just supposed to automatically happen. You're just supposed to already know, all right, I leave at 18 and I know what's up, or I know who I am. And the truth is, so many times over, you're going to reiterate like who you are, or things are going to come in the way, or your path is going to veer off in another direction, and you let go of what no longer serves you. So it sounds like you got vindicated in a way. You always knew something was off, but like you didn't let that off feeling prevent you from being successful on your own, from finding your own life, from finding your own way, from becoming who you wanted to become with Vivica. Too.
Like when people say that, some of the strongest, you don't know what people are going through.
Yeah.
That some of the times that people can have a smile on their face and you don't know what they're going through. That is so true. But also in the process, I'm a full-blown Gemini. Like I don't let what I'm going through prohibit me from going where I'm headed. That's been a saving grace. And I think that that's also, when I look back over my life now, I think the difference was also my saving grace.
Yeah, what made you special? Yeah.
So I'm really happy about that.
Well, let's tap into that a little bit, because there have been plenty of times where people have told you who you are or who they think you are, and it could have impacted your identity or impacted the way you felt about yourself, or you could have believed them, and like, what is it, the self-fulfilling prophecy there? So you did an interview with a couple years ago with some Nashville magazines, and one of them, they brought up how you were trying to figure out where you were going to go after high school, and your counselor told you, well, you're not college material. So I'd love to tap into a little bit about how did that moment shape how you see yourself, to have somebody else in a position of authority tell you who you are?
Yeah. I think that was, not only was it like with high school, I think when I was in high school, I think I was really trying to find myself, find my identity. Didn't really know if I was into girls, if I was into guys. It wasn't like we had like a gay culture that was around that I kind of understood or could relate to. And also just being in high school, I was more of like a class clown, but I also think that there was just really more like a lot of pain that I was going through that, once again, I didn't really know how to explain.
Sure.
And, when everyone started talking about in organizations like PRSSA and things like that, but then when everyone started talking about college, no one had talked to me about college. Yeah. Like my guidance counselor, she hadn't really worked with me on positioning or planning to go to college. And then I went in and I spoke with her and I was asking her about college, and she laughed and basically told me that I was not college material. And I remember leaving that office that day thinking in that moment that I'll be damned if I'm going to stay here for the rest of my life. That's not going to happen. So I negotiated with myself and I went to Montville State Community College, which was, Tullahoma, like Lynchburg, but it was still, I could stay at home. And it just didn't work out the way it's planned. So eventually I got out of there and I got to MTSU. And when I enlisted into MTSU, it was like a whole new world for me. Like, it was like country, church going kid. You know, I was vice president of the Baptist Student Union when 9/11 hit. And then all of a sudden I'm at the gay bars, like it's on the, on the, like the bars and everything. It was such a shock, such a young age, trying to find out, what does gay mean? What does this mean, being gay? Like, no one taught me that. No one was there to teach me. It was always about being a man, but there was this, once again, there was this other identity that I was just trying to identify with that was just crazy. So it was all started in high school, and it was just the fact that when she told me that I wasn't going to go to high school, or I wasn't going to go to college, it was really, once again, it shook me because I was really kind of trying to figure out, not only was I not sure of who I was, but now I wasn't even qualified to go to college, and all my friends are, they have support, they have scholarships, you've worked with them on all this. But yeah, it was kind of shitty.
Well, and just also just kind of terrifying. Allegedly, that's the path, right?
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to figure out who you are and what you're going to do in the world is to go to college, because that's what our generation was told they were supposed to do. And now you're telling me I'm not supposed to do that? Then what's the alternative? Nobody was talking about that.
But revenge has a way of showing up when you need it the most. So when I was at MTSU and I was in my senior year, we had to put together a press kit for Casa Works. And she was sitting in, my guidance counselor in high school, she was sitting on the committee in which we were presenting to. And afterwards, she told me I did a good job. And not to be catty, but she had a stuttering disability, I guess. Yeah, stutter. And it was just one of those things where it was just like, I have changed, but you have not. And I think it's just being kind to people. She was a guidance counselor. I was the child. And had she invested in me and believed in me, God knows what my starting point could have looked like opposed to what it did.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really tough, I think, when you're in a vulnerable position and you're hoping that you can rely on somebody like that. And to have her not do it would leave a lasting impact on anybody. Yeah.
I mean, I tell people, one thing I'm realizing is that you're raising kids, but also you're raising adults. Just because children get 18 and 19 does not mean they still that they don't need that adult guidance in this real world.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, how you start them off is imperative in how they finish. You know, I was lucky.
Yeah. Well, and I know in college, just because you got in, that wasn't, the end of the trouble. You had to get over the hurdle to get in. And then once you did get in there, you're trying to figure out, am I gay? Am I not? Am I interested in these things or not? And then it just kind of cracked open a whole new world for you because you started to be exposed to different people. Drugs and alcohol also came into it too. And then you had, one of your most tragic moments too. Right after that, you lost your constitutional right to vote over $5.44. So you've only recently been able to reclaim that ability. And I know how important that is because you were campaigning a lot last year for Afton and supporting her. So I would love if you could talk a little bit about that journey as well and how that has impacted you and your empathy for people that might be going through a criminal justice system situation as well, and how important reclaiming that was for you.
I'm for justice no matter who it belongs to or who it's against, as long as it's operative and long as it follows and lies within the truth, right? So with that being said, I didn't really have good money management skills growing up. And so I got caught writing a bad check that turned into the worst moment of my life because I wrote a $5.45 check at Walmart, and they called me because it had bounced. And I was going through my register and I didn't see a check in there for the amount because the amount now had included the return fee.
Right.
And so being young and naive and, once again out here on my own, I was like, I've never been to Alabama. Like, why are they calling me? They're like, well, basically you need to get a police report. So I went. Even in the police report, I told them exactly what the people told me on the phone. And it literally came to bite me in my ass. Eventually, I was charged with filing a false police report. And here in the state of Tennessee, that carries, that's a Class D felony. And basically, it takes away your constitutional right to vote indefinitely here in Tennessee. But with that being said, I went back and I petitioned the courts and had my citizenship rights restored here recently, which was an expensive and lengthy process. And so, yeah, I'm a firm believer in the justice system, but also I'm a firm believer in the fact that injustices happen and we need to acknowledge that. And I think that something so minute, it cost me so much. And everyone has this connotation of felonies is a bad thing. Last year, a couple years ago, the Tennessee legislature was trying to pass the drag ban, which was going to really, once again, criminalize drag. And the first offense was a misdemeanor and the second offense was a felony. So after just coming out of the battlefield that I had come out of and being an advocate in the LGBTQ community as a drag queen, I was like, that cannot happen.
Right.
The repercussions of that, you don't understand the repercussions of a felony until you've actually been in a situation. You don't understand the value of justice until you've experienced the harshness of injustice. It is something when you have to accept accountability for something you didn't do. Or it's hard to accept accountability when you're like, wait, what?
Well, for something that probably felt so minor. Like,
it was so minor, but it wasn't.
I'll get the $10. I'll pay the fee for the
wasn't.
rejected check.
And then he's like, I suspect he's writing all these other bad checks. There was no other bad checks. And it was just the prejudice of this country police officer. They called me in and told me that they wanted to hire me and wanted me to fill out an application. And then after I filled out the application, then they came back and was like, so your handwriting matches this check. And I was like, what? You called me down here for an application? Because it said they were hiring at the MTSU police office, police department. And I was like, oh, I can work here and fill out an application only to know that was a trap.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's been one of those things where you're like, wait, what? And so, but also I didn't let that prohibit me. You know, I've done my probation. That's been behind me. I've grown up. And one thing I've come to realize is, you know, everybody has done something that if they were caught would be considered a felony.
So everybody, somebody, everybody. And it's so quick that, you know, you need to make sure you know the laws in Tennessee, especially where you live at, because I'm telling you, the most innocent behavior sometimes can be the most felonious behavior. How did your experience impact how you interact with other people that have also gone through the criminal justice system? I know you're a big advocate here in town for lots of different marginalized groups, and you're a big advocate and a community leader here in town, but have you ever done any work with the juvenile delinquent system or any other rehabilitation groups for around town? Have you ever considered something like that? After going through the experience you went through, I feel like you would have a lot that you could impart on people in that community.
You know, it is being able to change isn't just about what someone can do for you, but it's also about what you can do for yourself. And while I'm very much involved when it comes to young men and women that are at risk in the justice system with a variety of organizations throughout town, when it comes to Campus Crossroads, Just Us at the Oasis Center, I do my part in the capacity in which I feel like I'm doing my part. It's hard. I'm very private when it comes to that because I don't feel like I had any organizations or anyone coming to save me when I needed things like that. So it's hard. I knew what it took for me to get to where I needed to be. So I'm very cognitive as to where I invest my time at with organizations like that.
Yeah. You want to make sure that you're investing in people that are actually operating ethically and supporting the groups that are
really empowering people, giving them that ripple effect that extends beyond the immediate moment, but also that really transitions their life and the generations to come. You know, it's like almost like it's one thing for doing something for someone, but teaching someone how to do something, that's where the magic is.
Yes, empowering them.
And so sometimes for me, like I think the most imperative thing when in my practice and my teaching is always the first step in change is self-accountability, accepting who you are and being willing to change that. Even with myself, the most ugly discussions I've ever had to have in my life was with myself.
Oof.
And that's reality. So when it comes around, I'm all about 501c3s and how they operate and everything. But for me personally, I like to contribute in capacities in which I can really make true change. For example, just as over at the Oasis Center, the money that we raise during our drag bingos at Acme Feed and Seed, money from that we actually raise and give to that organization that helps young children, men and women, to actually get back and forth to jobs that create stability in their life, which creates foundations in their life that gives them the opportunity to transition from this stage to the next stage. So it really makes a immediate impact on who they are as individuals. I just have to feel connected to the organization.
Yeah.
And I feel most connected to organizations that deal with young people that are at risk, because I feel like that's when I needed the leadership at most, is when I was that young person trying to find out who I was.
Yeah, one of the cool things I've experienced with the podcast so far is a lot of the subject matter experts in various stages have always said that their own variation of it, but they're like, that you've made it because you get to a certain point while you're on your journey and you can turn around and reach back and pull up the next person. You're not threatened by doing that and bringing somebody else into the fold, because you want to empower other generations to be able to do what you're doing. You want them to grow up on your shoulders or open the door if you can. And it takes, I think, a lot of integrity and a lot of self-awareness because you could have done the opposite, right? You could have totally been like, I'm done with that. I don't ever want to talk about it again. It was too traumatic. It's a deep, dark, buried memory of mine. Now I'm going to move on and do all these other things. Yeah. But you've used that actually to propel yourself forward as well as others. And I love that.
Because I think that had I had an adult in my life when I was going through all that, I don't think things would have gone the way that they would have gone, because I would have had an adult who knew about situations and things like that. But, being a young person in an adult environment when it comes to the legal system is very intimidating in itself. So, while I understand there's a criminal disadvantage and, an injustice that's going on not only within our country, but right here in the state of Tennessee, I think that for me personally, heart and my compassion about that injustices are really rooted within the young people, because they're young. You don't understand how your life is just getting started. My life was just getting started, but my life was just getting started when all of that, when I was going through that. And it was the most traumatic experience for me, but it was also one of the most life-changing experiences as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm very proud of you for coming out the other side. A lot of people may not have, they would have let the darkness consume them. So I think you've turned your life around into really amazing directions. But you've not only withheld that integrity through your own personal journey in college, but you've also done it in the community and in the private sector. So you've done it in a corporate world before as well. So a long time ago, before you started the Commercial Services 615, you had another job. You weren't doing this contract stuff. You weren't your own business owner always. So I'd love it if you could talk to us a little bit about when you were in corporate, why you decided to transition out, and what made you want to be a business owner again instead of just getting another job.
Gosh. So, I didn't even have an idea that I wanted to be a business owner when I started TNT Commercial Services, honestly. I had done corporate America for so long. I was in educational sales. I did linen sales. Then we got into janitorial sales. And it seemed like every time I got into the sales aspect, I would reach a capacity where I was like, oh, this is amazing, and everything was going good. But the first time I was like, I don't think that's right. Then I would become a problem.
You asked too many questions.
I asked too many questions, and I ask questions. So the last job, we were doing really great, our division, and it was when COVID started, and I had inherited what they call a specialty services division. No one was really managing this division, so there was a lot of things that just wasn't adding up with the accounting in this division. So when I got there, I didn't really understand how to read a P&L and a balance sheet and everything. But then I started learning how to read, and I started asking questions.
I'm 35 and I just learned how to read.
Listen, I'm like, wait, what is this?
People even far less competent have gotten those jobs. So
yeah,
you're fine. Yeah. I know you're joking, but no. I get it.
But I'm like, I'm saying, but when you start really going through there and you looking and you're understanding, the balance reports and things like that from a company operating position, when you're managing like 30 people and you're seeing, okay, where's this going? What's that going? And whatnot. And you have budgets you have to manage and things like that. You just start kind of noticing things. But anyways, it got a little crazy. And I remember that we closed a deal here in Nashville. And the budget that they had set for that was an $80,000 budget, and we basically had to utilize our support staff to get it done. And we got a quote that we could do it for $25,000. The margins were still nice, profitability was still amazing, but I got word that I needed to go back to a family-owned individual and talk them down to $15,000.
Ooh.
I was like, what? Really?
Yeah, we already have 80, just pay them the 25.
But that's not what we wanted to do. And so that was like sign number one, like, wait, what? After I had found this account and found this service partner and whatnot. And so then right before the holidays, I was getting ready for a presentation to do a business presentation for the other managers. And my director walked in to my office and I was like, what are you doing here? Like I was waiting to log in and him be the other end of the computer. And they were shutting down the specialty services division basically, which meant that I was losing my position.
Yikes.
And my operations manager, he lost his position. And I think that in that moment, once again, it shook me a little bit. And I think every time I get shook by life, I tend to adjust. And I think that was one of those moments where I was kind of shook because my operations guy was like 62 years old. And what was he going to do? And I was like, I don't want to be in that situation. If you get older in a company and then all of a sudden they don't need you anymore, what does that look like? So we were at dinner one night with my father-in-law, and he said, I was probably sitting there in my head, like my mind's always going, and he could probably tell. And he said, son, let me tell you something. You'll never get wealthy working for somebody else.
Yep.
And then the next week I came back and I said, I'm going to start my own janitorial company. My mother-in-law was like, what?
Why?
I was like, wait, what? Why that? Is that what you got out of that discussion?
Yeah, out of all those things, you want that.
You should polish your resume. And so we had made some partnerships here in our community, and some of our partners gave us a chance, and here we are going into our 4th year of business of operations.
And you run it with your husband now,
husband,
yeah.
Yep.
At the time, he was your fiance.
He was my fiance at the time.
So what did he say when you came home and you're like, honey, I lost my job?
Well, he picked me up because I had a company car, and I drove.
He took the car.
It was horrible. I had a company car, and literally, I felt so small because like I was. And then you realize how small you are when you're leaving a company and they put everything that you own kind of in a box and they ask for the keys and everything. You're like, okay. And so I had to wait out back with my box until he picked me up, and we were headed to New York. Because, I mean, I had a good paying job.
Right.
And we were headed to New York for the holidays. And he was like, does this mean we can go to New York? I was like, no, we're still going to go to New York. And we went to New York, and I knew that happened November the 15th. January the 15th is when they were doing the drag band, and I was on the stage at the Ryman, Nashville McBride's Lindyville tour, and I was a month to the day I was let go. I ended up on the stage at the Ryman doing 2 shows with Ashley McBride and her Lindyville tour and Brothers Osborne, and I knew then that once again life was throwing me something special.
Yeah, it was putting you in the places you needed to be at and taking you away from where they weren't going to serve you, or they weren't going to uplift you in the way that you obviously could have been. Yeah.
And it's funny that you said, earlier, like with my life and stuff in college, how I could have easily, everybody has done things or been through things in their life they don't want to talk about. They don't want to. But I think when the drag band came out, that really scared me because I had put all that behind me. And then when you're like, okay, now you're in your 40s and you're a drag queen, and they're talking about you can become like what?
Right.
Like that.
Now I'm illegal all over again.
That scared me.
Yeah.
That
They're like,
really
if I walk
scared
down
me.
the street and somebody recognizes me, they could just arrest me because they know I participated in something the other week or whatever.
That part.
Yeah. Yeah. That you could just get picked up. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I don't have white privilege because, but it's haunting to me to see all the news stories and things that are happening all across the country, that this is what's happening to people, and just good, hardworking people that are here trying to live their life and not bother anyone. So it's absolutely terrifying, and I can understand why you felt that way.
Well, and that's one thing when we talk about the politics, when we talk about the visibility and what we see in the media and everything nowadays, in my opinion, the only difference is that media is highlighting it nowadays. Being a man of color and a gay man here in the South, things like this have been happening. generations, sit-ins. My grandmother would participate in sit-ins when they were being spit on and having things poured on them when they were here in Nashville. So it's unfortunate, but I think that, with everything being highlighted, you can only hope that people start to grow in their passion and their empathy. Because at the end of the day, we all have the same goal in life, and the same end in life, and that's to live and to die.
That's it.
I don't care what color you are. I don't care what your sexual preference is. I don't care how much money you have in the bank. I don't care how many kids you have. I don't care how many kids you don't have. I don't care how many dogs or cats you have. At the end of the day, you're going to live and you're going to die.
Right. So what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that as I have grown, like I've tried therapy. I have a therapist now, thank God. But over the process, I had therapy. Once again, with my jobs, when you lose your job, you lose your health benefits, which means you are talking to your therapist, and then you no longer have a therapist, and you're stuck in this turmoil that you've opened up. So you have to kind of navigate that alone. And I've had to do a lot of navigation and a lot of sitting with myself and a lot of having some hard discussions with myself. And that's why in this whole world, I'm for everybody. I don't compete with anybody. The only person I compete with is myself. Right. That's it.
Yeah, the old version of me versus the new version
That's
of me.
it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, how do you blend your identity with Vivica? How did that identity start to come about and your stage journey? And then what does it mean to you now? Because I'm sure the younger version of Tavarus felt a specific way about Vivica, but how do you today feel about her? And what does she mean to you?
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I cry all the time on the show. Don't worry about it.
I never would have moments like this, but no. I think she saved my life in so many ways, like I think Vivica, she is strong. She embodies resilience. She embodies stability. She embodies grace, and she is strong and beautiful in everything that she does. And I think that with that over the years, Vivica has been kind of like an escape for Tavarus. Just being able to say, okay, nothing that Tavarus has going on today matters. The only thing that matters, like when I have a bingo show, it could be the worst week ever, but let me tell you, when that wig goes on, the only thing I'm focused on is not falling in my heels and doing my number and making sure that I don't say anything crazy on the microphone. It was an escape. And I think she is everything that, she is the innocence that Tavarus never got to.
Yeah, because you were so busy living in chaos. Yeah.
I was so busy surviving. Where Vivica gets to live.
She gets to thrive.
But I also think in the process of, through Vivica, I think she has really polished Tavarus. That has really allowed me to step out and know who I am. Because at the end of the day, I'm the one in that wig. I'm the one in that, that character. But it's a beautiful thing to see the transition aspect of it. I just love drag.
Yeah.
I'm good at it.
You're phenomenal at it.
I love heels.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be a woman. I love women. I love my trans brothers and sisters, but I just love my drag persona because I feel like Vivica Steele really embodies everything that Tavarus has always wanted in life. But the grace on that flip side is that through Vivica Steele, Tavarus is getting everything he wanted in life.
I think that's beautiful and a really special relationship that's, everybody gets to see you perform, but it's an intimate relationship that you get to have with yourself. That you're right, it gets kind of meta because you're going layer by layer, but it's something nobody else will truly understand except the two of you, right?
Yeah. And I love a good Whitney song, honey. I tell you, she brings me to life every time. Yeah,
she's really, really good. I think that was going to be my next question is what's Vivica's favorite artist to sing?
I love a Patti LaBelle. I love a Whitney Houston. Love Overboard is one of my go-to songs. I just love a good soul. Anything soulful. Anything with a little seasoning.
Yeah. Well, you got to sing with her recently, didn't you? Your husband posted the video of you going on stage.
Girl, I had no idea what was happening.
Tell us.
Oh, my God.
Tell us this special moment.
So we were down in Nashville when she came to Nashville. And we went with some friends of ours. And we were literally just sitting there, and the guy just comes out and starts like telling us to come here. And I thought maybe we were like in someone's seats or whatnot, and I had no idea what was happening. And next thing you know, we were on stage with Patti LaBelle singing Lady Marmalade. And I was like, shooketh.
Yeah, did you die?
No, but did you die? No, I lived. I tell you, I didn't have a wig on, but you would have thought my wig snapped right on, and I was just like, once again, element. It was such a moment, an unexpected moment, and I tell you, I watch for things like that.
Yeah.
I think regardless of where I've been in my life, I have always watched for these little things that happen or that happen in a weird way and to give me confirmation that
this is it. This is the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had little bits and pieces of that with the podcast. They're small and they're fleeting, but it's moments where I'm going, like today, maybe now you got me doing it.
Yeah.
Amanda in 2022 was having such a hard time. And she still does.
Yeah.
You know, she still does. But those little glimmers of hope, like getting to come on your show, getting paid for the first time last year, has given me those moments where it's like, bitch, don't you dare give up now. Yeah. Don't you dare.
Stay the course.
Yeah, stay the course.
Yeah.
Ooh, sorry.
No.
We're getting into it today. See, now he's okay. Now he's okay.
Where are the Kleenex at?
I know. I'm surprised. Yeah, Alex should know by now. He's like, yeah, if Amanda's coming on the show, it's going to be a deeply weird but deeply good conversation. Yeah, no, it's okay. We're okay. We're good. We are good.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a bit more. We mentioned it a little bit in your intro, but you also are on the radio. You also have a show. I came on your show. So how did Vivica and you start doing the Queen's Table? What is the Queen's Table about? Who comes on there? What's your mission with that?
Yeah. Well, once again, it relates back and to touch back on everything that I went through, as far as college and the criminal justice system. One thing I always realize is that the court can say one thing and the paperwork can say another thing. But when you build your character and you're in the right places and you start having true, genuine friendships and you start being your authentic self, that speaks more volume than anything. So for me, when the drag ban started happening, I felt like it was imperative to have a space for LGBTQ plus people to come and be able, and allies and advocates to be able to come and have these discussions so people could hear our voices, see our presence, and know that there was just more to drag than just a wig, lipstick, and what they see on the front facing of it all.
Right.
I mean, some of us are bosses. Some of us run companies. Some of us give back to communities. Hell, some of us help build communities.
Or political leaders too, yeah.
There's, when you talk about drag queens and whatnot, and also just being, for me, being gay and a color, I don't like generalizing everything.
Yeah.
I know that pain all too well. Just because you're gay, that doesn't mean anything. Who you are as a person, that's what matters the most. And I think that that's what the Queen's Table was really formed out of. It was rooted in real alliance, real advocacy, and real leadership. Because at the end of the day, the only person that you really have is yourself. And the only person that you can really hold accountable is yourself. And when you can learn to balance those two, life is always going to life, but also I think that it lets you be able to navigate it a little easier.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you're right.
So yeah, so having the Queen's Table for me, it was so that I didn't get lost in their labeling of who I was as a drag queen, because this is just a drag queen. No, you can go look her up. You can look up Vivica Steele and see what communities she gives back to, see what the work she does. And so it's staying focused on doing what you can do in the capacity in which you feel comfortable in serving. And that's how I felt like I was called to do.
Yeah. You want to share that journey and give people that platform to express themselves in that way. I think that's wonderful. And I am extremely honored to have been on that as well.
Thank you. Yes.
I know. We got to get you in the video studio so then we can do another one. We'll do a follow-up.
Yes, we will. We shall.
Maybe you could help me become into a drag of some sort. You can help me, teach me how to do everything. How to embody who Amanda thinks she is, I guess.
You know what? Amanda. You started. Let me don't get it wrong, honey.
What?
Vivica had to grow into who she is today.
I'm sure.
Okay, I had to go back and delete some of my Facebook pictures.
Oh no!
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, so it's trial and error,
It's a
but
trial
I'm very
and error,
happy
yeah.
with the woman she's become.
Well, for any listener that might be curious about the drag world, I know you don't have a drag daughter at this time, but
No.
should there be someone listening that's interested in following in Vivica's footsteps, what advice does Tavarus have for that person, and what advice does Vivica have for that person that's listening?
Oh my goodness. My advice that Tavarus would have for that person is become your own diamond and, stay in your own lane. The advice that Vivica would give to a young drag king or queen is only compete with yourself. At the end of the day, it's for fun. It's a persona, and it's supposed to enjoy it. Get lost in the escape of the art. Let that be your safe space. And at the end of the day, everybody's life is drag. We all put on a costume in one shape, form, or fashion. So Vivica would say, drag it out, honey. Drag it out.
Drag it all.
Drag it all the way out.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's sweet. You did iterate a little bit throughout the show that like you've trained yourself somewhat to rely on yourself. You became very independent, self-starter, self-motivator because you had to since childhood. I know that your relationship with your husband is one of the like #couple goals situations. Like it's one of the favorites on the Alamo crew. Like y'all are a cornerstone of our group of friends. He may not want you to talk too much, but if you could talk a little bit about why that particular relationship became important to you and stood out to you, where you thought, you know what, that's the man for me. That's who I want to invest in. That's who I see my life with. Because I know sometimes people out here that are still trying to date or still trying to figure out, like, I was told I was supposed to be married by now and I can't find anyone, or I can't get these things to work. What made you decide I don't need to be super independent? I can actually rely on him. I can be with him. I can build a life with this person.
Yeah. My husband showed up for me when I needed him most. My husband showed up for me when I didn't have a pot to piss in. And everything that we have, we built together. And he's always been very supportive, and he's always had my back. And he makes me become a better man every day. And I think that is the process, and that's the thing about relationships is that, relationships, they have their good, their bad, and their ugly. And I think that at the end of the day, you want someone that is rooted in all that with you. And, they're not so quick to judge. And I think that we have our moments where we are growing. But what's so beautiful about those moments is when we go through those moments together and we come out on the other side, and it brings us closer together.
Yeah.
And I would say, as far as like, when you're people looking for, just don't settle. Don't settle. I didn't settle. I mean, I stayed and I found me a good one, honey.
What is it? My man. Every time I hear that soundbite, I think of the two of you actually. Y'all have said it so much together. It's just the sweet.
No, but he lets me be me.
That's what's
he
so
lets me
important.
be me, and I love that my husband, he doesn't compete with me. He doesn't need to compete with me. And that is the thing about a successful relationship. It's not about competing against each other, but it's about competing against the world together.
That's wonderful. It's really good advice. I'm glad you shared that with us. So I have just a couple of the core questions that I ask everybody at the end. What do you want out of life, and have you found what you're looking for?
What do I want out of life, and have I found? I have found everything that I need to start the life that I want. I'm happy with that. I have the foundation that I need when it comes to friends, when it comes to love, when it comes to visibility that I need. Where this takes me, only God knows.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see where I land.
To see what it does. Yeah. I love that. What would you say has been your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement is understanding how much it really means to love yourself. That was a big achievement for me. Acceptance. That was a big achievement. I think that the company that I've built, I think that it wouldn't be fair to say, oh, TNT Commercial Services or Vivica Steele without acknowledging what I had to go through and where that turning point really, really allowed this to become possible.
Yeah, the critical pivots that you accepted. Honestly, you leaned into those moments to create this life. Yeah.
You have to. And I think sometimes one thing I've learned, there are people that are going to be in life that are going to help you, that'll guide you. But at the end of the day, no one is coming to save you. That's your choice. What are you going to do about that? And I decided to love myself enough. We had this thing in our group, we're going to love you until you love yourself. And I had some women around me that were amazing, amazing, amazing women that even in the moment, I always ran into good people. No matter what life happened through my way, I have hung out and had some stories to tell you, and have caught myself in some spaces where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here, but you are, Yeah. So I've had a lot of experiences along the way, and I've grasped onto those experiences from, the good things that I wanted to take from that. And I think from being where I'm at, or being from where I come from, being able to take what I want from people that I respected and admire to develop who I am is an amazing thing.
Absolutely. Community means everything. Yeah. And then, so the final advice for anybody that's listening right now who's feeling lost in their life and they know they need to make a change, but they don't really know where to start, what would you say to them?
Start with yourself. There's no book. There's no podcast. There's no sermon. You start with yourself. And I think by starting with yourself, you start to set elements in your life for the life you want to live. If you are looking for, a significant other, doing things that attract that significant other, it's self-work, it's self-evaluation, and nobody knows yourself better than you. And there's therapists that can help, but at the end of the day, be honest with yourself about what you want out of your life. That's where I think that I would tell anybody to start at. Sit with yourself.
Yeah.
Sit with yourself in silence and see what that does. I'm telling you, that is some of my most transformative moments. It's just sitting with myself and thinking about where I've been and visualizing where I'm headed.
Yeah, absolutely. You're manifesting it. You're bringing it forward from the future towards you. Yeah, I love that. Well, Tavarus, tell everybody how they can find you if they want to hire you and work with you guys, or if they want to listen to anything from Vivica, or they want to go see her. How do we interact with you?
Well, I have a quarterly show every quarter at ACME Feed and Seed, and you can follow me at Vivica Steele 615.com or VivicaSteele.com on our internet. We also have Chainbreaker merchandise as well on the website. I gotta get me one of those. VivicaSteele.com. Yeah. Also, I believe it's Vivica Steele 615 on my Instagram. You can follow me there on my stories and whatnot, and we're going to start having some springtime giveaways. So be sure that you follow me so you can know what we're going to be giving away this spring. But and we have the Queen's Table. We have episodes on the Queen's Table 615 on Instagram as well. And I tell you, it is we're just moving in our own space. And I just feel that this life has so much space to offer all of us that surely you can find joy.
Yeah. I love that. And I will make sure to put everything that Tavarus just listed into the show notes and the description box of all the episodes. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Anywhere you listen to your podcast, we're up there, The Lost and Found with Amanda Powers. And I'm also Podcast for the Lost on all social media channels. You can follow us on Substack as well. You can email me questions for the listener Q&A episodes, hello@podcastforthelost.com. And to close out, instead of saying wanderers are always welcome, I've actually asked Tavarus to read our Thanksgiving prayer. So last year when we did our Friendsgiving event, Tavarus was the MC and he led the group prayer. And I would like him to end today with that because it was such a touching moment and it really impacted me for months. Clearly we're 6 months later and I'm asking him to do it again. But I really want you to take that with you today. So for all the wanderers listening, let's listen to Tavarus.
Yes. Gracious and loving God, on this day of gratitude, we pause to breathe in the blessings that surround us. We thank you for this gift of life and the strength to endure, and for the grace that carries us through every season. We thank you. We thank you for family, both born and chosen, and for friends who lift us and our spirits, and for the love that reminds us that we're never alone. Bless the hands that prepared this meal and the hearts that gathered here today, and may the table be a place of peace, joy, and connection. And as we reflect on the journey behind us and the road that lies ahead, give us wisdom, compassion, and the courage to do what is right, to help us share in our abundance and to see the needs around us, and to act with kindness in all that we do. For every season and every lesson learned, every tear turned into strength, and every sunrise that offers a new beginning, we give you thanks. May gratitude guide our steps, and may the love and the friendship be the light that leads us forward.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on my show. Thank you for being such a wonderful friend. And I'll catch you guys next week. Remember, wanderers are always welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. That's it.
Oh, that was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for reading that.
Yes, that's
appreciate you.
amazing. Well, girl, I didn't know you were going to have me over here in all these tears.
Well,